Yeah.
We were out in Minnesota.
Yes. I
Are
saw
y'all
you.
live streaming or what?
I am live. Yep.
Okay.
So.
We'll share.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm planning to be out here all day. It sounds like it may or may not go like literally to the end of the day. No idea. Gotcha. It's all I've got, so I'm planning to be out here.
All right, cool. You're just on your page?
Yeah, it's so the News to Share Facebook page, at Ford Fischer on Twitter, and News to Share on YouTube, if it all works. I will say it's going to get really hot today, and my phone tends to like die while live streaming when it's like 100 degrees. So I'm really anticipating that streams are probably.
Do you use OBS to stream on all of them at once?
It's called Boxcast. It's a little cheaper than a lot of the other multi-streaming ones. It's about $100 a month, which is still a lot, but it could be worse. Yeah.
Faith! Irene! Faith people! This way! People of faith, this way!
What we're gonna say when treaty rights are under attack, what do we do? Rise up, fight back. Yeah. All right. When treaty rights are under attack, what do we do? Rise up, fight back. When treaty rights are under attack, what do we do? Rise up, fight back. When treaty rights are under attack, what do we do? Rise up, fight back. What do we want? Treaty justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Treaty justice. When do we want it? Now. If we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get it, shut it down. I said if we don't get it, shut it down. What do we want? Treaty justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Treaty justice. When do we want it? Now. If we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get it, shut it down. Woo! Hey yo, that's right. Should we sing?
Yes! Woo! Do the song.
How does the waters go? Waters, we're gonna fight this system now. I hear the voice of my great granddaughters saying treaty justice now. People gonna rise like the waters. We're gonna shut this system down. I hear the voice of my great granddaughter saying treaty justice now. People gonna rise like.
Good morning to the people who are watching. Today is expected to basically be a full day of enviro activism here in Washington, D.C. The activists basically called on those who are joining them to arrive at Freedom Plaza, which is where this event started, if you watch the stream from the beginning, at 7 a.m. And their call for action actually says, plan to stay all day. So they already just split up into two halves. We're kind of on the eastern front of the White House right now. So the people behind me are at kind of the east central entrance, but I'm walking right now uphill kind of north to where it looks like a little over half of them have continued to march. So they're kind of spreading out. They have said that it will be a direct action, which tends to mean that there's going to be sort of a risking arrest. But we'll see exactly what that looks like. It seems like the MPD is focusing a little bit more on the group that I'm following right now, which is why I'm also following it. But we'll see what exactly happens.
do when our life is under attack?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do when our water is under attack?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do when our people are under attack?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do when our land is under attack?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do when our water is under attack?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do when our people are under attack?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do when our land is under attack?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do when our water is under attack?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do when our land is under attack?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do when our people are under attack?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do when our land is under attack?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do when our water is under attack?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do when the people are under attack?
Stand up, fight back.
The people gonna rise like the water. We're gonna face this crisis now. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying, keep it in the ground. Sing along with me next time. I'll do 2 lines and then you go. The people gonna rise like the water. We're gonna face this crisis now.
We're gonna rise like the water. We're gonna face this crisis now.
I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying, keep it in the ground.
The voice of my great-granddaughter saying, keep it in the ground.
The people gonna rise like the water. We're gonna shut this system down.
The people gonna rise like the water. We're gonna shut this system down.
In the voice of my great-granddaughter saying, climate justice now.
In the voice of my great-granddaughter saying, climate justice now.
One more time. The people gonna rise like the water. We're gonna face this crisis now.
The people gonna rise like the water. We're gonna face this crisis now.
I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying, keep it in the ground.
Hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying, keep it in the ground.
Up and around. Perfect.
Can we rig this banner?
Can we give it up for our warriors who are locking down today? I just want to take a moment to say thank you and honor that spirit that you brought with you, that warrior spirit inside that's spurring you to action. You know, as non-Indigenous people, you taking these, you know, that makes you an ally, that makes you a good relative. You know, that's what these movements are about, is by following Indigenous lead and recognizing that as Indigenous people, we have the answers to the climate crisis. Rematriarching our societies and listening to Indigenous women is how we're going to win this. So thank you very much for taking this risk, taking that arrest, being like that.
We're out here to let Biden know that enough is enough, and that we're on to his dirty tricks and neoliberalism. That these are false solutions such as carbon markets and cap and trade and net neutral, and we need real solutions to come to the table. There's no more time to be playing these tricks and games. We need to be able to enforce FPIC, free, prior, and informed consent of Indigenous peoples, and understand that we're not going to allow these land grabs anymore in the Indian country, and that we need to be able to stand up for the justice of Indigenous peoples, so that we can have real solutions at the table. That we can be able to start addressing climate change and bring a balance back into our Mother Earth. And understand that this is not humans protecting nature, but this is nature protecting nature. We are part of nature. We lock down today as part of nature to defend and protect nature.
We're gathered here today with a diverse group of people, but we all have one thing in common, and that is white supremacy has taken over this country, is founded, and we are going to break this system. We will not be sacrificed for Beverly Hills shits that have Louis Vuitton purses while we can't breathe. We are rising. I am Sipnik, I'm from Alaska, and right now we are under attack. They are trying to take away our ability for food security, for our water. We have our Tongass rainforest under attack. We have our Arctic under attack. We have the last sockeye salmon fishery in the world under attack. We have corrupt politicians. We have so many groups that are trying to tear us apart, pin us against each other, but this all affects us. There is 1% of the world that benefits from white supremacy, and none of us here are part of that white 1%. We will take back this system, and we know that although you may not understand why we're here, we do this to make the world a better place, and we pray that this will come together.
On behalf of the Indigenous people in this country, and every broken treaty that has ever happened due to the fact that presidents can't seem to follow suit for the promises that they've signed to the Indigenous and leave their land alone. All of the problems that will come from pipelines over the course of this being built. It's not just about pipeline bursting and destroying the water table, poisoning the water, causing health problems in communities. It will be about the MMIW movement. More men, more women, more children are going to go missing because of the greed that happens along these pipelines and all the man camps that we'll set up that will find ourselves missing children. I've got a folder on Facebook that I put a name into probably 3 times a week of a missing Indigenous person, and a lot of that is due to greed and this sex trafficking that happens along these pipelines. So it's not just about pipelines and profit. For the Indigenous, we will end up giving everything we have for these white men to continue to make money. And in the end, you cannot eat money, you cannot drink money, you cannot go to your grave with that money. We will all suffer, even white men and white supremacy will suffer when we don't have clean drinking water, because we are all made of water. We need water to survive. So this is about broken treaties. This is about communities in danger that have already been oppressed, highly marginalized, and the further continuation of genocide due to resource extraction, and how that will affect communities across the United States. If you look at other communities that have had mining, that have had other wells drilled, that have had their lands poisoned by the United States, by broken treaties, you'll find health problems, you'll find high cancer rates, you'll find women that are sterile that can't get pregnant anymore because their environment is poisoned now. And the U.S. government isn't taking care of these people that they signed treaties to say, we guarantee you education, we guarantee your housing, we guarantee your clean food source. When in reality, we have the lowest quality food source allowed by the US government in commodities that they send to Native Americans. We have the lowest quality infrastructure when it comes to that housing. We have the lowest quality education and the highest suicide rates, the highest poverty rates. We have the highest domestic violence rates. And this is all because oppression has been allowed to stay and take hold, and profits mattered more than human lives as people started to try to conquer this land. Mother Earth doesn't want to be conquered. If you work with Mother Earth will take care of you. It has to remain that way. It has to. If we lose Mother Earth, we have nothing. We're dead. And that has to be the condition. So take that back to your communities. Let them know this isn't just about a Canadian company that wants to make profit and keeping jobs as a priority, which I understand is what Trump signed these permits for and what Biden is signaling that he's going to sign these permits for. This will be the death of more people, and eventually it will be the death of white people. So think about that when, as all of you are here in support, take that back to your communities, let them know this is the end for us. All right, we're moving on.
You're gonna have your profile pictures.
Again, I want to take a moment to express our gratitude.
I'm looking for lunch right there.
Again, I just want to take a moment to express our gratitude to those who are risking this arrest today, who are locking down right here. You know, there's a difference between someone who comes forward and helps speak and uplift the voices of those who are oppressed, and then those who are willing to put their bodies on the line. That's some real ally stuff. That's some real accomplished stuff. So I want to say thank you to each and every single one of you for being here today like that, for uplifting the voices of the Indigenous people who are currently going through these fights. All of my relatives up there in Alaska fighting to protect the Arctic refuge, fighting to protect, their livestock, their future. As Indigenous people, we're going to continue standing in solidarity with one another. We're going to continue loving, supporting, and uplifting one another. And it's because of brave people like you that we're able to continue this fight. So thank you very much for what you're doing today. Thank you very much for bringing that fire within you that spurred you to action. And let's keep that fire going, I think Standing Rock Awaken the World, we all realize that there's a sacred fire burning in every single one of us, and they can't put that out. They can't put that out because that fire has been burning for thousands of years within Indigenous people. They talk about how trauma is intertwined with our DNA, but so is resiliency. So I want to say thank you to each and every single person who is standing here today, because this is how we move forward, is together, each and every single one of us. So thank you very much for all of you who are locking down right now.
All right, Arm in Arm Affinity Group, let's give him a send-off. Raise your hand. If you don't have a sign, if you want to grab a sign, please do. To put up on one of our signs. All right. On, folks, we kind of get ourselves organized, sort of, spreading out around the derrick and the windmill. So if you need water, we have lots of water over here and other supplies. Kat, can you raise your hand? Also grab an umbrella if you don't have an umbrella. It's going to get hot here as soon as that sun comes over the building. So we have lots of spare umbrellas in case you need one.
Okay, so some people are marching back to where they started, so I'm going to see what's going on with them before possibly returning to this room. It's worth noting that a dozen and a half MPD are kind of standing by there, but they seem not to be intervening. As you saw, I think a total of 5 activists chained themselves to each other and stuff there at the northeast entrance of the White House area. What usually happens in those cases is that the police end up cutting them out, and then sometimes they arrest them for obstructing a passageway. Sometimes they just sort of cut them out and let them go. So we'll see what happens. I'll probably end up returning back there, when that begins to happen. But in the meantime, we're going to see what goes on with the march here.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. It's freaking hot. I'm from Alaska and I feel like I'm melting. Now the reason that I'm here right now is because of the work that I've been doing. When I first started this work about 3 years ago, I went up to my village, Nuiqsut, a little village in the Arctic that's surrounded by oil and gas. Now, we have a major corporation that has tried to brainwash us, that has tried to use lateral violence to keep us silent about the rising respiratory illnesses, about 2 children in a population of 500 who developed leukemia in different families. It is about children that are being affected that can't breathe. They are being medevaced and told not to live there anymore. Our animals are sick. Our caribou that we live off of, 80% of the food in Nuiqsut that is in those households is all subsistence. And those foods are starting to have tumors on their body. When we open it, we have to discard much of the food and waste it. We have fish that are popping up dead with mold on them. They are creating genocide on our people, and they are telling us to be thankful for it. And we're telling Biden that we will not take this anymore. Biden has made his promises, and he did stop the lease sales temporarily for the Arctic Refuge, but he has not put permanent protection, and we understand this game, and we are calling it out. And at the same time that he okayed stopping the lease sales, he supported the Master Willow Project, another project that'll surround Nuiqsut, another project that'll make it so my children may not know what nikipeak is, our traditional food. And to white supremacists, they don't care. They don't care that our food is being taken away. We are going to stand up to white supremacy. We are going to continue to stand up. And even those folks that don't understand, they don't know that we are helping them too, because we all need water and food. Thank you. Who wants to go up next?
Midapi api. Chante washte nape choose api. Ohitika wimie Ann White Hat macha biksto. My name is Ann White Hat. Sichanga Lakota from Rosebud, South Dakota. And glad to be here today and to be a part of this action and this stand for Mother Earth and for our water. Come here today to just tell you a little bit of story about the efforts that we were doing down in South Louisiana. I'm a founding member of the Indigenous Women's Advisory Council for the Louis La Vie No Bayou Bridge Pipeline Resistance Camp. So No Bayou Bridge Pipeline Resistance Camp is the tail end of the Dakota Access Pipeline. This pipeline came through South Louisiana, and we put up the first nonviolent direct action resistance to a pipeline construction project in Louisiana. And I'm real proud of that because people came and they showed up when we needed them. So I really appreciate people coming to do that like we are doing here. As a result of this work that we're all doing here, all of this, we're challenging the state's anti-protest law. As you know, many of these anti-protest law have been passed in a lot of our states where we're putting up a resistance. They're targeting us to try to silence us, threatening us to keep quiet, and we're not going to do it. We're here, we're making a stand, we're going to be loud as we can because we have to, we have no choice. So right now, you can look up our case. It's called White Hat versus Landry. There's 3 of us who were arrested out there, targeted and arrested in Louisiana, including a journalist. So we're going to take this all the way to the courts, and there's over a dozen of us right now who are facing charges under this law, up to 10 years in prison. We have a couple of years left before those statute of limitations expires. So we're living with this hanging over our heads right now, but I'm real proud of all y'all right now. We're out here right now locking down because we need to continue. We can't stop and let them scare us, hanging this over our heads. So we're going to keep doing what we're doing. And I really appreciate you guys being out here today. Maniwi Choni, y'all.
Were you up there first?
Uh-huh.
They're not getting arrested yet, are they?
Nah, I don't think they will. I mean,
There's 5 of them chains together,
sorry,
which
kind
means
of
the
weird
cops probably have to
thing to
come
say
out
right now. All right.
at some point.
I'm Alex
Last
Goldenwolf.
time,
I'm from the White
it
Earth
took like 2
Reservation
hours.
in Minnesota.
they're not gonna do it right away. They're gonna let them melt,
I'm
you know,
Anishinaabe,
into the
busy learning my
asphalt.
culture
So
still. Yeah, decolonization. But
it's
I'm
gonna
here
take a
today
while.
to talk about
they say they're gonna march now.
stopping the oil,
Like,
but as well
people
as the
on the
indigenous
outside,
struggle around the world.
Spokesperson,
Not just
vice
with
person, they said
indigenous
that at some point
communities
they're gonna
within
march
North
down
America,
that
but
path.
also within the communities over in the Philippines, over in South America, and like in the Indonesian islands. Like, not only are we struggling with our struggle, but they're also as well. And it's really scary because like everyone's under attack right now. Like, we're under like this physical attack, but we're also on a spiritual warfare attack right now. And back in my homeland in Minnesota, GNU Collective, I don't know, they were shut down, and that's really sad. They're my family, and we need help. We need help up in New Minnesota. Like, we've been calling for help, but we need it now. If you guys really want to come and stand up with us, come up and help stand up for us. Can't Make Music, GNU Collective, Welcome Water Protectors. There's all sorts of camps. But we also need more camps along each and every single waterfront, because that is how we're going to stop this, is being at the waterfront and stopping the crossings. They're about to drill underneath the rivers on the 30th tomorrow. And that's really intense. And they're going to be ending the drilling on like the 2nd or something like that. It happens really fast. And they're going under the Mississippi crossing like 2 to 3 times, and like there's like mini crossings they're crossing, but one of the major lines, the major rivers, is the Mississippi crossings. And when they break, you know, it doesn't just affect Minnesota, it affects every single state beneath Minnesota, because the Mississippi flows down to the Atlantic Ocean, and it's the major port for a lot of people's water. It holds 1/5 of the world's water resources, and that's a lot of water. And there's 5 continents on this world, and so that's a major water source right there, guys. Yep. And they're trying to put a pipeline under it, and they're trying to kill us all. So it's a spiritual warfare in all of us, a physical warfare on our bodies. Not only that, all the fucking food they give us, poison. On the reservation, my dad suffered from diabetes. He was suffering his whole life from diabetes, and he was put on dialysis. And it's just like a physical warfare on the food. Not only that, but we shouldn't be eating commodities. We should be eating our natural food. That's why my dad passed away. And that's another reason why I'm here, is because my treaty rights. I want to protect my treaty rights. You know? I want to go hunting, fishing, gathering. Maybe someday if I have kids, I want them to do as well. You know? Because like, we need a way of life. We need to reconnect to our way of living. And this is not it. I don't like eating burgers all the fucking time. I'm sorry for my language. I'm sorry. I'd much rather be eating bison and venison and wild rice, you know? And like squash and beans and corn, blue corn, not your yellow corn. You can't even fully process that in your digestive system. Like, you see it, like when after you digest it, obviously GMO. But yeah, we need to get back to our natural ways. And the way I'm trying to do that is decolonizing. And thank you. Come to the front line, come live at a camp. It's not scary, it's not intense, it's really nice actually, because you get to do what you love. And I'm way more happier than I ever was before. Chi miigwech.
Thanks, everybody. We're going to go to the next blockade.
Line 3 has got to go.
Hey, oh, Line 3 has got to go.
Hey, oh, Line 3 has got to go.
Hey, oh, Line 3 has got to go.
We don't need oil.
Keep it in the soil.
We don't need oil.
Keep it in the soil.
Louder. We don't need oil.
Keep it in the soil.
We don't need oil.
Keep it in the soil.
We don't need oil.
Keep it in the soil.
We don't need oil.
Keep it in the soil.
We don't need oil.
Keep it in the soil.
We don't need oil.
Keep it in the soil.
Made a new channel.
Okay.
Honor the treaty, stop line
I think the
3.
only people
That's
that
the way it's
getting
got to
arrested are
be.
the people that chant the
Honor the
salsa.
treaty, stop line 3. That's the way it's got to be.
Honestly,
Honor
if
the
this part
treaty,
kills out,
stop
I might
line
just
3.
go to the one.
That's the way it's got to be. Honor the treaty, stop line 3. That's the way it's got to be. Honor the treaty, stop line 3. That's the way it's got to be. Woo! President Biden, if you're in that car, honor the treaties, stop line 3. Honor the treaties, stop line 3. Stop line 3. Or all the lines. Stop drilling.
while our future generations are threatened, and we're going to make sure that he gets this message loud and clear that Indigenous people know what's up. You think we're not educated, but we'll speak to you in your colonizer language if we have to let you know that we're not accepting this, and we're demanding that you put climate at the front of your agenda like you said in the first place, and to deliver on the messages and the promises that you made to us. Stop line 3, it's the same argument as KXL. We're not going to be accepted with halfway measures. We want everything. And this isn't just for Indigenous people. Indigenous sovereignty protects all people, and so we want to defend everybody's future generations. And so that's why we're here today.
Bloody hands! Ours hands! 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 Bloody hands! Bloody hands! Bloody hands!
Okay. Nobody look at me. Give me a minute. No, I'm just kidding. Buju, Tabiki Giza, Skijikwe, Nindishnikas, Nagachiwanang, Indujiba, Migazi, and Dodep. Hello everyone, my name is Tasia Marno. I'm 28 years old. I am a mother of 4 children, 3 of whom are Indigenous females, and 1 strong son. Because I have the floor for a moment, I want to speak about an issue that, matters to me and should matter to everyone. Can I get a Black Lives Matter?
Black Lives Matter!
Thank you. All right. So most recently, up there in northern Minnesota, Camp Migazi, we're a frontline camp, and what we do is uplift, serve, and protect. And that includes our Black relatives. Oftentimes I get scared to speak publicly because there are such things such as state-sanctioned murders, which is what happened to Winston Smith in northern Minneapolis up there in the city. On Lake and Girard, the community has been gathering every single day to try and pay homage to Winston Smith and Deanna Marie, who was murdered while holding the line with multiple other activists while taking the street, calling for justice. She was hit by a white supremacist and ended up passing away because of this. That's a fear in the back of everyone's head. As a frontline activist, as someone who takes the street, we recognize that, while taking the streets, it's a risk that we take. Every single one of us, when we wake up in the morning, we lay down our asema, we put our cedar in our shoes because we know that we're willing to die for the future that we believe in. And I'd like to die for a world where BIPOC people grow up safely. That being said, I have a son back home. He's 21 months, he's still breastfeeding, but my son is just as beautiful as his father before him. He was born with white privilege. From the blue in his eyes to the blonde in his hair, I'll never have to worry about my son not coming home safely because he matched a description. I know that my son can go safely to the grocery store to purchase some Arizona tea and Skittles and make it home safe. I know that my son isn't going to be shot dead in the street for the beauty of the melanin that he carries in his skin. So while I have the platform, I'm calling for the resignation of Jacob Fry. I'm calling for the defunding of the Minneapolis Police Department. Not only am I asking for their defundment, I'm asking for them to abolish, because reform has not been working.
Abolish the police!
Abolish the police.
Abolish the police!
The butt cops over there are like, hang on. They're like, who is this? Don't worry about it. Up in northern Minnesota, on the struggle of the Line 3 fight, there are people who have been putting their bodies on the line. They've been climbing inside of trenches. They've been climbing inside of the actual pipes themselves. They've been riding these pipes for 7 hours in -20 below temperatures. They've been locking down to equipment, standing in front of machinery, literally facing their freedom, life, and safety, because we can't continue going this way. We can't continue. Life is no longer sustainable. It's not sustainable. And each and every single one of us is going to have to give up some comforts. We're going to have to be willing to let go of some of those luxuries that we depend on every single day. If we're not willing to be uncomfortable, I'm afraid none of us are going to be here long. If we allow them to build the Line 3 pipeline, none of us will be here long. The Line 3 pipeline is the dying gasp of the oil industry, and they know it. In about 10 years, the oil industry will be completely obsolete, and they know that, and that scares them. Hang on, the mic is acting funny. So fear makes people desperate. It makes them lash out, and they've been doing so by means of the police. And I hold police accountable for their hand in all of this, because if it weren't for law enforcement officials, they wouldn't have even been able to build Line 3. If it weren't for law enforcement, enforcing the eminent domain of these projects, there wouldn't be so many MMIW. And I'm calling on the Biden administration because at home I've got 3 beautiful daughters, and growing up I was taught the statistic of 1 in 3. I'd like Biden to take a look at my children and tell me which one, because that's a fear Indigenous mothers face all across Turtle Island. Which one? Which one's going to be raped? Which one will be murdered? Which one's going to go missing?
which one by the age of 15 is going to be groomed by a sex trafficker. Because every time these projects go up within Indigenous communities, the statistics we face increase by 22%. Now they're bringing over 4,000 out-of-state workers into the state of Minnesota, which is already a very small community. As Indigenous people, we only make up 2% of that population. I live with a target on my back every single day. Every single day as an Indigenous woman. Because I can walk through any department store and find my likeliness in the Halloween aisle. I'm something to be conquered, to be taken.
You're still here.
And we're still here.
You're still here, sister. We shall remain.
And the way the police have been treating us. I watched the GNU Collective be kettled on private land that they own, unable to come or go, perpetuating that blood trauma we have as Indigenous people being forced on reservations. I don't know if my sister in Minnesota is safe right now. I don't know what's happening at Nameawag right now. And that's because of the police. So I'm calling for total abolition. No police, no pipelines, no prisons.
Yes.
And when we talk about, Indigenous struggles and how they go hand in hand with climate justice, I want to remind you that there are communities in Albuquerque, New Mexico, currently fighting to protect Backer Pass from a lithium mine. So don't forget to not greenwash the movement. Remember to uplift Indigenous voices, because we know the way. We know the way because they couldn't take that from our grandmothers. And every day that we hear about more babies being found broken, abused, and buried in mass graves at the boarding schools, we remember. And America hasn't even started digging yet. Thank you.
I'm Jake Spotted Wolf. I'm an Indigenous activist out in Seattle. My tribe, 3 affiliated tribes out of North Dakota, so that's Mandan, Sanish, and Hidatsu. I've been living at Camp McEasy since May 19th. Thought I was staying for 5 days and ended up, I'm still there. I lived on the easement for Camp Firelight. Kind of had to quit my job back in Seattle, where they are experiencing record highs for the Pacific Northwest at 115 degrees. That's never, ever, ever happened. And that can only be because of climate change. No matter how many people come on and say, into the comment section of a social media page and say, that's just the weather. For a very temperate, mild climate, that's not just the weather. That cannot just be the weather. So watching that happen and watching the deniers and watching people support greed and money over what this sustenance is, right? Like our planet that feeds us, that gives us water, and watching the destruction that comes with every one of these pipelines is in Indigenous territory. And that continued genocide, right? They will continue to take that manifest destiny that white, and I know I'm in front of the faith contingent. I know that. I know you guys are trying, but I will speak to that, right? That's how this all started for the Indigenous, was that white people thought they were entitled to this country. They came and they took, and when they couldn't take enough, they started to kill us. And in that, they started to demand the land. And that's when treaties were broken, and that's when people died. More Indigenous died. The reason you don't see more of us out here is because there's like 1 to 5% of us left on the planet. Because of residential schools, because we were killed out due to starvation, due to smallpox blankets. And in those residential schools that Taisha was talking about, we lost our cultures, our traditions, had to cut our hair. We couldn't speak our language. We were beaten if we did, right? So those kids that are in those mass graves on those schools in this country, in Canada, they died probably very violent deaths, right? And some of those teen mothers that were raped by those priests that had to give up their babies, and those babies were incinerated in ovens right after birth. We need the faith contingent to stand up for the indigenous right now. Yes. We need you guys, especially if you're Catholic, because they were Catholic schools. And I give you all the credit. You're doing the good work right now, and I thank you for that. I need you guys to speak louder to your fellow faith followers. I need you to call upon your communities and say, we haven't started the search here. Kamloops happened over a month ago. It happened when I got to McGeezy in May. I learned about that a week before I got there. Why haven't we started the searches here? There's more residential schools in America than there are in Canada. 365 was last count. We're gonna take a second here.
It's okay. Keep going. We got this.
Sometimes white people get confused, even when there's a big, huge barrier standing right in their fucking way. They don't seem to understand that they cannot come in here right now.
You're not going to work today. You're welcome.
Hey, parking somewhere else. You. Bye-bye.
No pipelines, no problems.
Nope. We'll leave you alone if you leave our land alone, if you leave our people alone, and if you leave our rights alone. So over 361 schools in the United States of America, the search has not begun at all. Why? Why? When I share this stuff on social media, it largely goes unnoticed. I don't know if it's that the church doesn't want to look at it, if religion is scared, and they're like, yes, we are guilty. We are terrified to look at our crimes because we owe the natives a lot. I don't know if it's the government and religion being two really powerful entities that think that this is going to go away. If we just let Canada do their searches,
Okay.
then we won't have to look here.
So to the people who are watching, I ended up here at the South Blockade, but this is one
Bring them home. You guys get great people.
this is one of 3 at least locations that's being blockaded. Basically, the activists started about 7 a.m. and then spread across to the south, a southeast entrance, and a northeast entrance of the White House. I think in order it was the opposite of what I just said. But so I'm going to head back to that northeast entrance, which is where there were activists who had actually chained themselves to some stuff that they had posted, and in my opinion that's probably the most likely to see police interaction, because generally speaking, when activists do that kind of stunt, the police basically have to cut them out, which is a much bigger deal than essentially people just linking arms, where they can sort of be kind of compelled to just pull apart or whatever. So I'm going to take a short break because it's probably going to take me about 10 minutes to walk up there. I probably will start live streaming again when it seems like something is happening. If I get up there and they're just sort of sitting and waiting for the police response, then I'll probably wait a little longer to go live. But you can anticipate a part 2 at some point later this morning. So thank you very much. I'll be live again soon. So make sure you subscribe wherever you're watching. I've been live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter right now. So make sure that you're following News to Share on Facebook and YouTube, and at Ford Fischer on Twitter. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.